Hello, and thank you for watching The Righteous Kitchen, a cooking and baking blog found at www.therighteouskitchen.blogspot.com. I am working on a Neapolitan cake, and it's going to have a raspberry cake, a bakery style white cake, and a German chocolate cake for the bottom layer. And what I'm working on today is the raspberry cake. What I've done here is I'm modifying my bakery style white cake and transforming the flavor to raspberry. So what I have done already is I have 2 cake pans oiled and lined with parchment, and I'm going to just set those over to the side. And I need to prep a little bit of ingredients, so I kind of want to walk you through that. And I'm going to start by prepping the dry ingredients. Now for this, I'm using freeze-dried raspberries. This is a 1.2 ounce bag, and I get these at Trader Joe's. They're simply, just dried raspberries. So that's my flavoring, and it's also the coloring for this cake. So what I did was pulled out all the seeds, and there's quite a bit of seeds. There's probably half a cup of seeds that came out of these berries. So when you get them, you just dump them in the bag, run them through a coarse strainer a couple times, and then that's going to take them from their whole berries into a powder. After you've done that, then you're going to take the powder and run it through a fine mesh chinois. These are hard to find. You can get them online. That's what I had to do. This is a very, very fine mesh, and it'll catch all the seeds that went through this first strainer. All these seeds pass through here, but they won't pass through this fine mesh strainer. And so you just put all the powder in there and then just shake until you've got all of your powder reclaimed and all the seeds are left behind. So that is the prep work for the dehydrated raspberries. So that's one whole bag with the seeds removed and run through a fine mesh strainer. So I'm going to set that to the side. The next important process is the cake flour. You can use the homemade cake flour, but I always buy cake flour. So what you want to do before you start this recipe is I just get a big bowl and I just sift a little more than I think I would need. I'm going to need 2.5 cups, but I'm going to sift a little bit more than that, and I'm going to sift it 2 times. I'm going to sift it 2 times before I measure it. So this is our first sift. You want your flour to be nice and airy and light. Alright, this has been sifted 2 times. And now I am going to go ahead and measure. And I need 2.5 cups. There's 1 cup. There's 2. And I'm going to grab the 1/2 cup measuring cup so I don't have to guesstimate using the 1 cup. So there's my flour. Now I could just, I'm not gonna sift it quite yet. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and add raspberries, the sugar, the baking powder, and the salt. And I'm gonna just kind of get in here and get it all together. And then I'm going to end up whisking it right back into this large bowl. So here we go. We've got all the dry ingredients. And we're just going to whisk everything together. This spoon here really kept everything moving. Okay, there's some large crystals of sugar. I've been finding a lot of the sugar lately is really not fine crushed. It's just like got some harder pieces just sugar. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep that out. So this is our dry ingredients. And I'm going to go ahead and set that off to the side. And then we're going to start with our eggs. I'm going to need 2/3 of a cup of egg whites. So how I do this is I crack the egg into a bowl and then very gently I get in here and scoop the egg and try not to break that yolk. So you want to be very careful. There we go. When you get the yolk, just put it into a different bowl and collect the egg whites in your measuring cup. This is a little bit messy, but it really is the best way to separate your yolks. It looks like I'm going to need one more egg. There we go. All right. I am going to wash my hands and clean this up, and I'll be right back. All right, so we have our dry ingredients prepped. We have 1½ cups of whipping cream. That's heavy whipping cream, and it's cold. And then we have our 2/3 of a cup of egg whites. So I'm going to put the egg whites and the flour off to the side. And what I'm going to do now is whip the cream. Whenever you're whipping cream, you want to make sure that your whipping bowl is clean and dry. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 1.5 cups of cold, heavy whipping cream. And I'm going to beat this. It's just cream, nothing else. And I'm going to beat it with a wire whisk until I have basically whipped cream. You want the same consistency of whipped cream. So start out on low and then gradually increase it to high. As this starts to thicken, you're gonna wanna keep your eye on it. You want nice stiff peaks, but you don't wanna overbeat it and have it come out dry. Once you get the cream whipped, you're done with the mixer. And let's just kind of look and see. See how the peaks are nice and stiff? That's what you want. Okay, we just whipped the cream to nice stiff peaks, being careful not to overbeat. What we're gonna do now is mix everything, the rest of the ingredients by hand. So I'm putting in my egg whites, and I'm just gonna give it a little stir. It's really not gonna be incorporated at this time. That's okay, it's not gonna come together till you start adding the flour mixture. So I'm gonna add about 1/3 of that. Then I'll add another 1/3. And you want to make sure you get the bottom of this mixing bowl and the sides. Okay, we're almost there in the mixing. It's a little bit stiff batter, but you want to make sure to get all the ingredients combined. All right, there we go. It's all come together. Really nice, pretty coloring on this. All right, so I've got my pans. I've got 2 8-inch pans, and I'm gonna get a scale so I could weigh the batter. Okay, 1 pound 11. £1.11. Wow. Okay, that's great. I'm just going to start at the center and see if I can just kind of all right, that's pretty good. And then I'm gonna, I'm gonna go ahead and get these into the oven on the center rack. They'll probably take 35 minutes or more to bake, but I'll let you know on that time, and I'll come back and show you how I test them to make sure that they're done. Okay, these cakes have been baking for 37 minutes, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull them from the oven and check on them. A little spring test. And these might need just maybe another minute. See how it's leaving a little dent? So even though these look done, because they're really pulling from the sides, that spring test, it's just a little bit under, maybe 1 minute. It's just hardly any time at all. So I'm gonna put like 1 minute, and then I'm gonna come back. Okay, these raspberry cakes have baked for 38 minutes, and you can see where it's springing now, and it's not leaving an imprint with my finger. That's a good way to tell if it's done. You can also poke it with a cake tester or a toothpick, and it should come out clean. You can also see where it's pulling from the sides. That's a good indicator. And lastly, you can smell it. It smells really good here. It smells like raspberry compote, like raspberries have been cooking. All right, so I'm going to release this. It's fresh out of the oven. I don't worry about letting it cool or any of that. I already know it's not going to stick to the pan because I've greased it with Crisco and I've put a layer of parchment under. So what I'm going to do is slide a thin knife just around the cake and up against the side of the pan. I'm going all around, making sure that that cake is free from the side. I'm going to go ahead and do this other pan. And it's easy to do this while it's warm. As it cools, that crust is going to get stuck and melded to the side of the pan. So now we're ready to release it. To release it, I'm going to grab a hunk of parchment. I want to be able to double up on the parchment. Let me take my glove off. I want to double up on the parchment. And that's going to ensure, because this is hot and steamy, when I flip it over, this first piece that's closest or on the cake, it's going to get sticky and it's going to want to stick to things. Having the 2 layers is going to make it portable, and it's going to keep me from having to worry about it sticking anywhere. Okay, so I have that, and I have my cooling rack. You're going to need your gloves. Put your gloves on. And then you're going to want to grab the rim of the pan from underneath. See? And then flip it. Looky there. Nice and clean. Look how evenly that baked. That is a pretty cake. All right, so what I do is the top of it, you know, sometimes it mounds up a little bit. So I already have it nice and warm, and it's on a flat surface, so it's already going to level my cake for me. So that's nice. So I'm just going to transfer it over to a tray where it can sit flat. I'm going to let it cool, and since I won't be decorating this cake today, I'm going to go ahead and put a few layers of plastic wrap over it and put it in the freezer. And then I'll also put it in a gallon-sized food saver bag so that when I'm ready to assemble the cake, it's nice and fresh and it doesn't dry out or have a freezer taste to it. All right, so here we go again. Let me get this so you can see it. All right, I've got my doubled up here. I've already released the sides of the cake from the pan. I've doubled up on my plastic wrap, or my parchment paper, and I'm just going to invert it. Here we go. Just grab the bottom of the pan, flip it over, and there it is. Beautiful. That really baked up nice and even. And like I said, the top is now nice and warm, and it's already flattening out for me. So it's going to be nice and easy and level to work with. So that's it. 2 cakes done, and I'm just going to let them cool off, and then I will get them prepared for the freezer. So I want you to look for my white bakery style white cake, and then I'm going to do the German's chocolate cake. Now I'm just making the cakes, and then what I'm going to do is there's going to be a video on me assembling those 3 cake flavors into the Neapolitan cake. So I'll have a raspberry cake, a bakery style white cake, and then the German's chocolate cake. So I'm getting them all prepped for the freezer while I make these videos. And then I'm going to have to come in with 3 different buttercream frostings and then 3 different fillings. So this cake's going to take a while to prep, but you'll want to watch the Neapolitan cake to see how this all came together, and then you'll see what the interior, the crumb of this cake looks like. So look out for those videos. And I thank you for watching this one. I want to grow my page. It's coming along nicely. I'm getting a lot of new subscribers, but I can grow if you take the time to like and subscribe and share. I really appreciate your support, and thank you for watching.